This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Lechtich Musar podcast. We continue with the Pele Yoeitz. We're on page 424 in the article. We're on day 159 in Hachsek. Now we're going to talk about Giluach, grooming. And we're going to turn to Kabbalistic concepts to find meaning in the seemingly mundane acts of grooming one's hair and nails. Cutting one's hair is included in properly honoring Shabbos and Yontif, so that you shouldn't come into these sacred times unbecoming in your appearance. And getting into Soid in the deeper Yonin, as the tariff matters, one's hair represents din, divine judgment. It behooves a person to be extremely careful that he grooms himself every Friday. Why? Because he don't want to come into Shabbos with ding. So they don't bring evil upon oneself to give added strength to the koyach hara. And a person should cut his nails before Chatzois. Because again, the klipa has a stronger power. We have a takana from Yehuda Chassid. They're not supposed to take a haircut on Rosh Chodesh. So if Rosh Chodesh falls out on Friday, then you can't take a haircut. Then do it on Thursday. The Chamir Sakanta. As we just said, because of Yehuda Chassid, and one should be careful when he's grooming that he should shake off the hairs because of evil judgments, the din that they represent. Something very interesting, mind-opening, and perhaps novel, at least for myself. But this is an important thing to know. Now we're going to talk about getting a Jewish barber. But don't go to a Goyish barber. The Kabbalists write, unbelievable. That if you get a haircut from a guy, it removes the sound that came from oneself. And this is the reason the Pele says about himself, why I only get a haircut every 15 days instead of weekly, because I want to get the Pele only got a haircut once every 15 days, because that was when the Yiddish barber was available, and then you have these kavanas. But the point is that after v'achat tiglachas, always we should wash your hands. Now we're going to digress into the discussion of styling one's hair. And from what has been said, we talk about that it's din, and that there's a koyach hara. We can understand that people who let their children's hair grow long to look beautiful and attractive, this isn't a good thing with being overly mild and steinlich. For aside from the fact that he's wearing a beged isha, give a simnas isha, from the Tzara Kabbalah, it would seem that there is also real need for the hairs of one head to fall to the ground. The Habdi Mishal Zad and Olav. Cutting one's hair is always beneficial for this reason that we spoke about before. They don't have the din and you're not being misalsel with it, except you can't cut during sfira. And therefore, one should, a person should conduct himself in this manner, that he should be makbid to get a haircut as often as possible. And it says in Pele Yoeitz, if one does this, if one cuts his hair every week, which is beneficial for these reasons of the Kabbalah, then one should stipulate that he's undertaking this bli neder, and it's proper to do so regarding any sort of practice that he wishes to undertake. A very important part is the Torah. We just saw the words misal sabaroshe. The words misal sabaroshe, The words Misal Sabarisha come from Yosef Atzadik in the Torah. And the Farshim speak out that it's a Gnai, it's a lowly thing that Yosef Atzadik, he's being Misal Sabarisha. Rashi brings this down. But there was a beautiful Pashad I once heard from Brian Waxman. He says something incredible. He says that Yosef Atzadik, why was he known as Yosef Atzadik? Why was him Yaakov Atzadik? He saw Moshe Atzadik. Because Yosef Atzadik, as we know, went through one of the shverest nisenis ever. The shverest nisenis ever. I think the Gun says that you take all the nisenis that will ever happen and you pack it into one, it won't come close to the nisein of Yosef for the Eishes Beitifar. And Yosef endured, Yosef overcame, Yosef was victorious in this nisein. If Yosef was such a tzaddik, so why would the Torah even allude to the fact that there was something meguna, there was something childish, there was misalsa b'roishai? If he's such a tzaddik and went through such shreklach and nisyonis, unfathomable, was the greatest design of all time. Why would we equate him with something that's seemingly lowly, something that's unbecoming for the biggest tzaddik ever? Yosef had tzaddik. So why would the Torah say behu nar? He was a nar, he was young, he was playing with his hair. What will be what's the pshat? I once read it from Brian Waxman, something to always keep in our neshama, in our minds, and it applies so much to ourselves. He was talking about Hanukkah, but it's forever, it's for always. Especially, we just finished the parashas of Yosef Atzadik. The pshat is not lignai. We're not disparaging, we're not speaking lowly of Yosef, it's saying he was misalsa b'reishai. Who nar, when the Torah talks about Yosef Atzadik, saying that he was a nar. And Rashi says, the Medrash says that he was misalsa b'reishai, was to tell us that Yosef possessed the midah of naris, the midah of being a childish, which wasn't something negative, which wasn't something to push Yosef down, but quite the contrary. It was to not just boost him, but to tell us the underlying midah that Yosef Atzadik possessed, which was naris. What's naris? What's being a child? Children are ambitious. Children dream. Children have she'ifas. And only with those she'ifas, with those dreams, with that ironclad ambition, and nothing's going to get in my way, the Torah is not saying that Yosef was a nar playing with his area. The Torah is saying Yosef will possess this need of naras, and that's what enabled him, that's what fueled, that's what charged him to be able to achieve the tzaddik that he was, because he was set on greatness, because he was set on Kvod Shemayim, and because he was set on being the best Yosef he can be. That's how he rose and became Yosef HaTzadik. He didn't let the things get in his way. And when big, fat Nisayonis, the biggest Nisayon of all time, came his way, he was able to overcome it because he was a nar, because he had a vision, he had a dream. And he didn't say, I'm old and I failed in the past and I had this Nisayon, that Nisayon, and Hashem is just, it's so melancholy and cumbersome and hard and being picked down and getting rocked. No, Yosef said, I'm taking this slowly and I'm going to overcome it because I'm a child and I can do anything. I have ambition, I have passion, I'm strong, I'm a gibor, and I can do it. And that's how he overcame every Nisayon. And that's how he overcame when the Shvatim threw him into the darkness, with Pare and the Mitzvah, and that's how he overcame Eishes Beitifar. Because he had the meat of Naris, that's how he was able to pierce through, to come through and become the greatest person, Yosef HaTzadik, who no one else in the Torah is called. Yosef HaTzadik was because he was a nar, because he was Misalsa B'Reishai. We weren't knocking him down with that. We're saying this is the midah he possessed, and that's what made him great. And we tap into, we all have naris in us. We need to, if we can't find it, we have to unearth it, because the midah of naris is what's ultimately going to help us go back and become who we can become. Remind, what were we thinking when we were 5, when we were 10, when we were 15, 20, maybe 30, maybe you're 70 now, you think it's too late. Everyone can tap back into naris. Everyone can tap back into being a child, going back to those dreams, those ideals, the things that we thought were impossible, and saying, maybe I could cheat it, because a siyat l'shmai could do anything. And when we go and hold on, clench tight within our fists, and we say, I'm a nar, not in the negative way, in the positive way, in the strong way, in the vura, I could do anything, I'm invincible, no one can take me down. Because we're not distorted, we're not jaded by the insanity, by the chaos of the world, and by failures, and by getting knocked down by the Sahara, and just going for I'm a nar, I'm new, I'm fresh, I'm new to the rink, and I can take anyone down. With that, we can do anything, and that we can overcome and become the greatest versions that we want to become, that we can become, that we're meant to become.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.